All right. Well, hello, everyone. This is Bob Turner again. We're here at the Content Room in 95 India Street in Portland, Maine with Powers Promotions. Mitchell Powers has been kind enough to lend his podcast studio to us for another round here. So we thought we'd come in and try it again. We're here with Tia Chambers today. We're going to get to her in a second. But first, I wanted to just pay off a few sponsors, one of which is Powers Promotions. Another is Turner Builders. That's the stuff I'm supposed to be doing while I'm doing this. Thank you, Ryan, for keeping the home fires burning. So I wanted to plug an event we're doing this weekend. You guys know that I've started a coaching and consulting company called Summit Coaching and Consulting. And so we're getting together with Scott Bowman this weekend over at Iron Legion Strength Company in Westbrook. We can post the sign up for that. Actually, Mitchell's going to video the whole thing. So we're either going to have it as a live stream or recorded for a webinar after. But Scott's going to talk for a while. I'm going to talk for a while, both on fitness, business, and life. Just some of the things people are struggling with, trying to pick people up. Hey, we got through January and February. The year's 17% over, if you can believe it. We're just going to touch on a few things that might help some people. So we'll have some more information on that. If you're having trouble finding it, just DM me, and I'll help you out with that. So also some exciting news. Last week, I joined the Contractor Mastermind, based out of San Diego, California. And I'm super excited to be connected with these guys. Contracting business coaching for contractors. So I'm coming in on the mindset, motivational, mental toughness side, and working with guys on just kind of everything that you deal with as a contractor. So I'm excited about that. Going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, getting to the point today, we're sitting here with Tia Chambers. She is a newly anointed associate broker with Coldwell Banker Realty in Saco. She's been in real estate a couple of years now. She's got a daughter named Carmen with a K.
Correct.
Carmen's 10. And she's just going to talk a little bit about what her path has been to real estate, kind of what she specializes in, where she's looking to kind of hang her hat, so to speak. What's a good customer for her? What's not a great referral? What kind of playground she operates on for the most part. And just talking about home values and things like comparative market analysis and things that you get into as a real estate broker. We'll probably stay away from the buzzwords like interest rates and that kind of thing. You guys all know what's going on there. So we're not going to pretend we know more than everybody else about that. But yeah, welcome. Thanks for coming in. You reached out, I don't know, a few weeks ago and said, hey, I see what you're doing there with a podcast and a YouTube channel and what's going on. I want to know more about that. So she stepped in my trap and I said, hey, let's get you on the podcast. So here
I am.
Here she is. So Tia, what's going on? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, and congratulations to you as well.
Yeah, thank you.
So what's going on with me?
Yeah. What happened on Saturday?
I got my associate broker license, finally. A little nervous about that test, but it went well.
How long a test is it?
You're allowed 3 hours.
Yeah.
I only had 100 questions, so not really that bad.
I'd have had trouble with the sample question,
Yeah, I'm not a test taker, but got through it.
Yeah, well, that's great. So what is that? What does that open up for you in the world of real estate?
Yeah, so now, associate broker, I'm able to do things like opinion of value on a home, and you can be an associate broker for the remainder of my career, unless I wanted to become a broker.
Okay.
Which will be another test to take.
Do you have to do a certain amount of years? Is it 2 years?
2
That's
years.
what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right, and you have to be with a brokerage, obviously.
Correct.
You can't when can you have your own agency if you wanted to?
Yeah, that would be a broker.
Broker.
So another 2
Okay.
years.
What is a designated broker's role? Is that like another level up from broker?
Yeah, they kind of oversee everybody.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you've got in Coldwell, you've got they call it a DB, right?
Yep.
That
Manager.
manages that
Yes.
branch, if
So
you will.
a DB and a manager can kind of play the same roles.
Okay.
A DB can be a designated broker for multiple offices.
Okay.
A manager would be only with one.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, you're fairly new to it, a couple of years in, you know?
Yes.
Had any big mistakes, big learning lessons?
Of course. When you're green is what they call it.
Yeah.
You're going to make mistakes, but that's where you learn. And
Right.
you just got to do it.
Where is it most common? On the documentation or just...
Documentation, but when you're new, you put everything through your DB usually, so there
Okay.
shouldn't be too many errors, but along the way there's so many moving parts, there's
Right.
different things you're going to learn. You have to do to learn in real estate. You can't just read a book and know what to do. There's going to be different situations, different scenarios, different problems.
How do you deal with people that are like, hey, you're new, or you only been
Right.
doing it a couple of years? Do you not get some listings because you're new to it, or do you get new opportunities because of that?
So for that, I say, because I'm new, you're so much of my focus. I don't have,
yeah.
I don't have 20 other people
Sure.
waiting in line for me, like the next person trying to get the listing, or so that's what I've used.
So more.
I haven't really had too
get more
many-
attention.
Yeah, I can give their client more attention. Correct.
Yeah.
I haven't had too many. What's the word I'm looking for?
Objections,
yes,
really?
to
Yeah, or
that.
people questioning.
Yeah, not too many.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I would see where you might get a couple, but real estate's funny because I often say to people, there aren't too many businesses where you can call up someone and just literally engage their services without paying them a dime. One of them is contracting, where, hey, can you come out to my house and price my deck? And I like it priced in Trex and PT, and I might do the demo myself, or hey, my brother-in-law's an electrician, I'll have him handle this and the remodel. So we can spin our wheels a lot on the contracting side, and I gotta believe that you can you got to kiss a lot of toads in your business, so to speak.
I mean, everybody wants to talk about real estate.
Yeah.
It's a great conversation starter, is contracting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. Is there any kind of pre-qualification process in your business? Like if somebody calls and says, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house.
Of course.
How much is it worth?
For selling a house or for a buyer?
Either way.
For a buyer, most real estate agents won't really go to a further step unless you are pre-qualified. That's just how it is now.
Yep.
For a seller, you got to see what their motivation is.
Yeah.
But if they're willing to talk to you, then it's probably pretty high and they're ready to sell.
Do you pretty much go see everyone that calls you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Or have a meeting.
Yeah. Do you bring them into the
Buyers mostly,
Yep.
Sellers. And if you think it's kind of sketchy to go see someone at their house, there's apps and tools you can use to background check.
That's true.
So
There's some of that too. I mean, you're
Yeah.
a young lady too, and
Right.
you kind of going into a
there's things in
Yeah.
place that are for
Yeah.
safety, and so it's not really too much of a worry.
right. Yeah, that's got to be definitely part of it. Who do you work with more, buyers or sellers?
So far in my career, it's been pretty split.
Yeah. What do you like the best?
I don't want to say what I like the best, but to be in the business, being a listing agent is where you want to be.
Right.
You want to list. I had quite a few this summer, which was awesome. It's definitely different being on the seller side.
Yeah.
But I like working with both. I like helping people, so that's why I do it.
Well, I think you gotta have that in your fabric, I guess,
Yes,
if you're in real
definitely.
estate, right?
Certain breed.
Well, you spend a lot of time, and it's a lot of nights and weekends, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
Now, your daughter's
Sometimes.
10. How do you deal with that?
Because it is your own business, it's pretty flexible, and
Yeah.
you just keep that open communication with your client. I am a
Yeah.
person. It doesn't seem that way when, you're going through that high stress of buying or selling.
Right.
You might get some text messages at midnight, 2 a.m.
Yeah, I get those too.
Yeah, but
I say, hey, unless it's on fire or underwater, give me,
yeah, you just have
give
to
me a
set
break.
the lines of,
Yeah.
boundaries.
Oh, and that's on you on the front end, right?
Right,
Setting the
right,
expectation,
right,
like, hey,
right.
dude, I've got a life too, and
Right. When you meet them, you bring them to the office, or you're meeting them at the home, you let them know. Like,
yeah.
these are my hours, but usually I'm pretty flexible.
Do they go over that stuff when you're taking your coursework for real estate? Is there much about the actual
And this-
being an agent stuff?
Yeah, and the sales when you're first becoming an agent, and when you get with a certain brokerage, some like to have you set boundaries when
Yeah.
you're new, because you want to help everybody. You want to be there. You're trying to get business. You're trying to get clientele. So you're
Yeah.
always like, oh, I gotta be here. I gotta be there. I gotta answer this. But if you set boundaries early on, they will not take advantage of
Now,
that.
you came from a different agency, and now you come to Coldwell. Are there agencies that have more training, or is there, they want to run you through their program before they cut you loose, or are there other like small brokerages where, it's just, hey, more mom and pop?
There is a 90-day mandate when you enter a new brokerage.
Really?
So even though I am associate broker, I am still under supervision for 90 days
No
because
kidding.
I'm at a new brokerage.
Does that matter, like all the way up? Like if you had 23 years in the business, is that still the case?
I don't, it's a lot more flexible with that.
Yeah,
But because I
probably.
am green is what they call it.
Yeah.
Yes, you're still under, you have to, like for me, I would still have to have everything overseen.
When are you not green anymore?
90 days.
90. Be a professional by then, right? So, well, we talked a little bit before we turned on the cameras and everything about, your niche or what you like to work with, or who's a good, I said, hey, who's a good customer, who's a bad customer, or not a great referral. But you mentioned the cannabis business and kind of how they're interacting with real estate these days versus say 5 years ago, and what options and resources they have going forward. And you kind of like to land in that arena. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So because full disclosure, I when I was getting my license, I was in cannabis, the industry, to make money while you're working on, getting clientele, getting my license. So a lot of people have come to me, that are in the business, like, hey, I know it's kind of like, not really talked about, but can I get a house with my line of work? And the answer is yes, if you are an employee. If you own a cannabis business, it's a little more tricky.
Okay.
Just because it's not federally funded.
I see.
Unless you're paying cash, there's not a problem.
And I don't know a lot about that business, but my impression is that those guys have a lot of cash because they haven't, either federally or statewide, they haven't really figured out, I guess, how to tax it yet, or you can't put it in the bank or whatever. So if you can't put it in the bank,
you can put it in the bank.
You
There's
can.
a certain bank.
okay, and maybe it doesn't become part of your financial picture, right? You got the hole in the mattress and you're just stuffing the cash. I don't know.
I mean, yes and no. But so it is primarily a cash business.
Yeah.
But people put money in the bank now.
Okay,
It's
good.
totally legal. You see them everywhere. It's not a secret.
Yeah.
There's
There's more of those in
pop-
Wyndham than there are pizza
they're
shops.
popping up every day.
Right.
So I mean, the general public doesn't know that the owners can't finance a home or investment properties, but I mean, most of them have gotten so big they don't really need to.
True. So but you've got resources for both
Correct.
financing and you can get deals done for these guys.
Yes
girls.
and no. It depends. It's just like a first-time home buyer. Anyone can help them out,
Right.
but there's stipulations. There's things in place that need to be done. And
Isn't it funny how, as years go by, things become more the norm, right?
correct.
Like
I mean,
5 years ago, we probably weren't having this conversation.
no, we wouldn't.
Right?
Still, I feel like now it's a little bit touchy of a subject.
Yeah, probably socially a little bit. But hey,
It's a
kudos to you.
business.
Yeah, it's a business. And
People everywhere are doing it. It's not. I mean, if you think about alcohol, way back, that wasn't always legal,
right.
and that had no beneficial health factors to people.
Right.
And now look, there's bars everywhere, just like cannabis. There's cannabis storefronts. There's grows. There's
Yeah, no, it's huge business.
It is.
I think that's where all the carpenters went. If you guys are out there,
They don't want to do that anymore.
they don't want to swing a
That's
hammer.
true, too,
I'm
because
telling you.
Everyone's like, there's no workers. And I was like, I don't think it's people don't want to work. I think they are in the cannabis industry now.
Well, and to your point too, like the younger generation, like everybody's like, oh, all these kids are lazy. They're not doing anything. No, I think actually they're quite smart. They're not out. Some of them aren't doing the trades because they're doing
Podcast.
NFT. They're doing a podcast. They're writing a blog. Hey, watch it. But they're finding a way to make a living without their hands, so to
Exactly.
speak, and that's okay. I mean, that's
lot
just
more opportunity.
evolution, and things evolve, and it's just cool. So it doesn't make it easy on a guy like me that's trying to find subcontractors and new plumbers, electricians, or whatever. But hey, that's life. I mean, if they can go and work in the cannabis industry and make a living, then great. And if you're helping them, on a level, get into a home or make that available to them, then kudos to you. So, backing up a little bit, we talked a little bit before about the path to real estate. So if it's a young person or even an older person that decides they want to switch careers and get into real estate, where does somebody start?
Yeah. Well, you do need to have money. So that's why I had to work during, just getting started. everybody, that I've talked to, either like they had a cleaning business or they
or side hustle. Or
side
something.
hustle.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone has a side hustle while they're getting started, and some people still do it because having a side hustle is kind of nice to have these days.
But, I've had it most of my life.
Yeah. But obviously you have to take the class, you have to get licensed, and then you have to pick a broker that you want to work for under. I recommend, interviewing a few who would fit you and your style of, because, not everybody is going to be.
Interesting. You said you interview them, or is it, because they pretty much will connect with, if somebody's coming out of school, hang your license here.
Mm-hmm. I had a few brokerages reach out to me, but
Nice.
That's not always the case. You have to reach out to them, be like, hey, want to come in, you guys looking for new agents, because some of the smaller brokers maybe aren't. You don't know. You have to call and ask. That's just what I learned. But I was approached, so that's how I started. But when I left my past brokerage, I was also sought out by them, so I met with them and met with a few others just to, see where I wanted to be, because ultimately you are picking where you're going to be for a while.
Right.
You don't want to keep changing,
what's
because then you rebrand and it's kind of.
What's your game plan there? I mean, you're going to do a few years here, in case your boss is listening. But you want to have your own place someday, or?
I've been asked that a lot lately, but I don't think that's something I want to do right now. I'm leaning more towards investing, just being an associate broker.
Investing in real estate?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just
multi-unit or single family? What do you think?
Multi-unit mostly, but anything.
Oh, can you sell a multi-unit as a?
Yes.
So, okay.
Yep.
Residential. Mm-hmm. On the commercial side, you were telling me you can represent. You can do you can represent a buyer, but you're not going to be doing any sale types of.
No, that's more licensing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on the commercial side, right?
Correct. It's a lot different. It's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, for sure.
Commercial, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We talked a little bit before when I was typing up some notes and doing a little research about. You mentioned Zillow. Mm-hmm. So for me, like Joe Blow, I want to know what a house is worth. And oftentimes
everyone's on it.
Contracting, if somebody calls and says, "Hey, we're on 123 Smith Street," excuse me, just to get a look at the house, I'll go to Zillow. Or if I type in the address, that's what comes up as a Zillow listing. I'm like, wow, place is worth $750,000, Right. And they're talking about putting a couple hundred in it. Yeah, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But that's not always the case. You were saying it's not always, that number isn't always something you can hang your hat on.
Correct. Zillow's great. Everyone's on it. I understand. Even I will look at it sometimes. It's not always the most accurate number. And what I was talking about with you is I would like to do a compare and contrast. Just pull a random house, see what Zillow has, and then I would show you how a realtor would go through. And because you can do adjustments. And now the market is so crazy, you have to look at so many different factors that Zillow just doesn't do. It's just a number kind of like you're pulling out of the air. Zillow is great though. Sometimes it does come in pretty close, but it's not always accurate. I did a listing before and everyone thinks their house is worth $1 million, obviously. Of
course, yeah.
They're like, yeah, I'm going to get this much for it, but it's not always the case. So trying to reel them back in and show them what you just got to show them the statistics, the data, and that usually helps. So.
And you do that with a comparative market analysis?
Correct.
Okay. Does somebody have to pay for that?
No.
Okay.
Nope. I wouldn't charge for that, no.
All right. So if someone's thinking about listing their house and they give you a call, say, hey, Zillow says it's worth $450,000, whatever. Don't know where I want to list it. Don't know how much. Mm-hmm. The way to start is to reach out to you and then have you come over, do the CMA, as you guys call it.
Correct.
And then kind of see where, do you ever get pushback from somebody that says, let's just say I thought my house was worth $400,000. You have it. Hey, Bob, I really think we ought to start this at $325,000.
Mm-hmm. All the time.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah. So for that example, I said, this is your house, this is what you want to list it for. Totally fine. I'm just advising you. Mm-hmm. So what I would say is go ahead, let's list it at what you think it's worth. And then if it doesn't get any,
let's do it my way. Yeah.
If it doesn't get any, offers in 10 days, well, that was the market when it was crazy. So I'll just use that. 10 days, just write a contract like, hey, then we have to revise everything.
Okay, so you actually make them write out,
Yes.
this is the
Like,
reduction.
Yes, this is an agreement. So this is your way. You want it. This is what you think. That's great. Totally fine. It's your house. I'm just advising you. I don't think that's going to go well. So if it doesn't go well within this set amount of time, let's reevaluate and do what I suggested. And then they're like totally fine with that because you're giving them what they want. You're just advising them, and then they pull back, and usually it's works every time.
Have you ever turned down a listing opportunity because somebody that was kind of unreasonable about that?
No.
Okay.
Nope. Not yet.
Does it more often than not eventually come around to the number that you kind of...
Yes. I've never seen it go for what they wanted.
So you probably got a fairly good instinct about the market.
Correct.
Okay. And you kind of, you bang around in the Saco, York County, Central Maine areas, you were saying?
So yes, Southern Maine and Central Maine. I like both areas because I'm familiar with them. Southern Maine, obviously, I grew up there. I was a postal worker in Kennebunkport and in Gorham, so all those surrounding areas. And then Central Maine, I lived there for a few years, and my first office that I worked through, Realty One Group, was stationed in Auburn originally.
That's interesting. Coming from the post office, you probably knew right where every house was.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And who lived in it. You probably know more about people than you want to admit working at the post office,
just
right?
say, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what else? What else comes to mind when, you mentioned you were thinking about when we first started talking, you were like, hey, you do a podcast, you do a YouTube channel. Like, how could I do that? How could I? So we got together, we chatted about that a little bit. What's your plan?
Yeah. Well, right now, obviously, this is just an introduction. I want to deep dive more in depth about some of the things we talked about today and just keep it going. I kind of want to be the realtor that talks about things that nobody else does.
Okay.
Everyone's talking about interest rates. You're just hearing the same stuff. And I'm not out of touch with that. I understand that's going on, and I will talk about it, but I don't want to spend like a great length of time on it.
You're not spending, hey, since rates are high, people aren't overbidding. Or whatever, selling it, they're setting, well, stuff's really selling at what it should now, or just below, so blah, 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 right?
Yeah, yawn.
Yeah. Yawn. Yep. So what's, how many listings did you have last year? How many sales did you have last year?
Ooh, good question. I think only 4 last year listings. Sales, I'm not sure.
So it's kind of almost a graduation into the business, right? I mean, if somebody was just gonna, you don't just quit your job and start real estate unless you've got somebody that can,
Sugar daddy.
pay you. Sure.
I just say what everyone's thinking.
I didn't say that. But yeah, I mean, really, I mean, you got to, I mean, if you're coming to this later in life, or when I say later in life, after you have a car and a house and kids and bills, and you've got a nut to crack, so to speak. It can be a tough turn, right? To try to jump into it.
Absolutely. With any business.
Good point. Yeah, with any business.
Any business.
Although, in fairness, this is a commission-only, business. You're not going to you don't get a draw, you don't get a base, you're just like, if you don't work and you don't hustle, you're not making money.
Right.
What do you think of the people that sell a few jobs, they're out driving around in a Mercedes?
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah. Perception's reality, right?
Yeah.
It can be in the real estate world, right?
Even if you are making whatever, you don't necessarily need to portray that life, but it's okay to do it. It's individual. I mean, I wouldn't go buy $100,000 car after making 2 deals. But.
Right. I mean, I got to believe that if there's any time to have been a real estate broker or a mortgage broker even, it was probably in the last 5 years, right?
It was a good time, to enter.
I get a kick out of all of the mortgage people, and they're like, oh, things are so tough. Dude, maybe set a few bones aside,
I don't think it's tough. I think we were spoiled.
Right.
I think it's getting more into a normal market.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to live. Well, I don't have a boat. I don't have a 40-foot boat.
Should have thought about that, yeah.
Right, huh? Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So you seem like you like to work.
I love to work. Workaholic, yeah.
Yep. What do you do in your spare time?
Work. No, I hang out with my kid. This is
going great.
I hang out with my kid, obviously. hang out with my family. I have a huge family.
Really?
Yes, my dad's the youngest of 13. So I have a lot of aunts and uncles, and they all have kids. So a lot of cousins
Big family.
to come with that. Yep.
Yeah, are they all right here in Southern Maine?
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. Yep.
What what'd you do before real estate, cannabis, and all that?
I was in the insurance.
Post office.
Well,
Yeah.
I was in the post office. I was in insurance before I became a real estate
What
agent.
kind of insurance?
Health.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's fun business.
Yawn.
And you're funny. So, getting back to the cannabis thing, though, like a guy's got, let's just say, I mean, those guys have a lot of money. I talked to my electrician one day. He's like, dude gave me like $40K cash to go buy a generator, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, so they have access to a ton of cash. And you did mention they could put it in the bank. Or is it a credit union or is it a bank? Are there certain banks that aren't looking at that stuff?
There's certain banks. It's not that they don't look at it. It's the federal thing.
Yeah, if I remember right, anything over 5,000 gets reported to the federal government, right? Like a deposit.
Yeah, Maine.
Bank.
Yeah,
in Maine.
that's what I can tell you about Maine. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Cool. So when's the podcast coming out?
Right after this. Something I've been working on for a while. Of course, I'm just trying to get my feet wet.
Yep.
I've never done it before, so.
Okay. Well, if there's anything I can do to help you with that, let me know. I'm by no means a professional, but at least I've done 23 or 4 of them. So Mitchell and I have made a lot of mistakes. Right? Yeah. We're learning all the time. So the YouTube thing, if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. But our biggest thing I would say is just don't worry about what people think. Somebody's always going to take a shot at you. I've had guys on the job site take shots at me and say, oh, where's Bob today? Shooting video. I'm like, yeah, but we get more work out of it, guys. So it kind of works. It's called marketing.
Exactly.
So, and we're in a time now where if you're not working on your personal brand, you're out the back, right? So, whether it's Instagram or Facebook and, or even, YouTube, or you're on LinkedIn.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. LinkedIn's one of the most overlooked
it really is,
social mediums out there, I think. Really.
I'm not really on there that much either, so I can't.
Yeah. And it's more like a ton more professionals than on Facebook, and people are, putting on what they would do for work. So, speaking of Instagram, you are Chambers_Realty.
Correct.
On Instagram.
Yes,
right?
I did think about that. Yes.
Chambers_Realty on Instagram. If you punch in that in now, I follow her. She'll come up. Tia.Chambers at CBR or CBRealty.com for an email. Tia.Chambers at CBRealty.com. And her phone, if you want to get her and see if she'll come out and do a CMA for you or do a listing or represent you as a buyer or just generally talk to you about real estate, she's at 207-766-8443. Right?
You got it.
What else? What do we forget to talk about?
I think we hit on quite a few topics.
Were you nervous?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it didn't.
No, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
Show. Would you do it again?
I would.
Yeah.
I plan on it. I'm not really big on social media. I told you that's like a new goal of mine this year. I had some help posting some stuff throughout my career, but I'm looking to really get into it this year. So
it's almost like if you're going to be in business, like you got to have it because people they social proof you, like right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
This person reached out, like
yeah. Everybody does it, right?
And it actually does. There's some validation to that, right? Because if like, hey, Bob Turner's coming over to look at our project tonight, they jump on and see, oh, he's got a bunch of videos on YouTube. I've walked into somebody's house before to look at their kitchen. They say, oh, we feel like we already know you. I said, why?
Right.
Well, we watched all your videos. Well, cool. So it's kind of my job to lose at that point, right?
Right.
Because they've already kind of selected me based on the fact that they kind of got to know me. So if you can kind of achieve that same thing
Right.
for your social media, and and I would just say, just deliver value. Hey, if you're doing YouTube, let's do some videos. We're going to talk about what's a CMA. Somebody might not know that.
Right.
What does dual agency mean? Do you have to have should you have a broker if you're buying? Many people don't realize that, hey, we're looking at houses that you can get representation, right?
Right. As
a buyer's broker. So there's a lot to real estate. So thank you for jumping on with us.
Thank
for
you
Tia
for
Chambers'
having me.
First podcast. And who knows? She may be right here in the content room talking to Mitchell about bringing her guests in. if you guys are a business or somebody thinking about starting a podcast, this stuff is available. This room's available. Mitchell's calling it the Content Room. He's Powers Promotions. We're at 95 India Street here in Portland. I'm Bob Turner. This is the Summit podcast. It used to be Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things, but that got to be too much of a mouthful. Yeah. My contracting company is Turner Builders. We're really looking hard for kitchens and baths, decks and basements this year, kind of staying on the existing footprint, doing some smaller projects and having a little bit more control. We're on YouTube. We're on all the things on the interwebs. So check us out, find us. Tia, thank you very much. Is there anything you'd like to leave anybody with?
Nope. I'm so sorry.
She's still
trying to figure it out.
A little bit nervous. So I think maybe we'll get Mitchell to chop a few things out of here for your social media. Not chop it out, but I mean cut them so you can use them. He's really good with that. I told her, hey, if there's anything you don't like, just let us know. We'll get rid of it. So some of this stuff you might not even see. So, but anyway, Tia, thank you very much. I've enjoyed getting to know you. Appreciate it. So I'm always trying to increase my professional network, if you will. So I'm really glad you reached out. I hope I've given you some value and given you some opportunity here, and we can continue that relationship. Great. So thanks.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Mitchell, thank you very much. We're out of here.